Ladies and gentlemen, it is Tuesday, so you know what that means. All new episode of the number one game show amongst sports content creators out there here on the Gryd Network. It is the 8 o'clock spot. I am Alfred Parsard Jr., once again filling in for Bryson Carver, who only God knows when he's coming back. But nonetheless, we are here, and we're here with three of our contestants, all regulars this week. Starting with contestant number one, Mr. 8 o'clock spot himself, the all time points leader and the guy who everybody's trying to go after, Mr. Arthur.
What's going on? It's been a little bit, took a little bit of a break, but I'm back now to be standing on business. So let's get it.
My man said he's coming for a win. All right, coming up next, we got Dylan. Dylan, how are you, bro?
Doing good, man. Ready for another episode of 8 o'clock spot.
And last but not least, Paris, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm getting a bit of like 60 degrees, so I feel like the world feels amazing outside right now.
Oh, that Midwest weather this time of year. All right, 8 o'clock spot rules as always. We talk about several topics in the first round. Best take gets 5 points. Second best take 3 points. Third best take 1 point. So we're gonna get things kicked off. It was the perhaps a bit of a sad thing if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan, but Kyrie Irving tore his ACL last night. They said that he is out for the rest of the year. Obviously, the Dallas Mavericks have been a source of controversy ever since they traded away superstar Luka Doncic for aging star Anthony Davis to the Lakers. Are the Mavericks done this season? Yes or no? And why? We'll start off with Arthur.
Absolutely, the Dallas Mavericks are done, and it's very unfortunate, especially when all you got to do is just be patient and wait for Luka Doncic to get back and see if he can Kyrie Irving can just get this team and keep them afloat. And that's exactly what Kyrie Irving has done ever since the trade. Luka Doncic was traded February 2nd. They get AD. AD has his Mavs debut February 8th, and then he goes down. And now, Kyrie Irving has to do this thing by himself a little bit and try to keep the ship afloat. But there's just way too many injuries now to this team. Again, I said Davis is out, and now there's talks of him possibly shutting it down for the rest of the season. Kyrie Irving goes down with the season-ending injury. Daniel Gafford is still out. Derek Lively may have progressed, but we still don't have an update on him. PJ Washington is currently out. Jaden Hardy is out, and he's day to day right now. And you also take in the scoring output of this team. Kyrie Irving, ever since the trade, well, before the Luka trade, was averaging 25, and afterwards he was averaging 27. But now that's gone. You know what I'm saying? In his first game, Anthony Davis had 26 points. So your scoring output from two of the best scorers in the league is now gone, which means Klay Thompson has to step up, Spencer Dinwiddie, guys like Max Christie, but those aren't your go-to scorers. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this Dallas Mavericks team um, stays on par the rest of the season. Their saving grace is literally the Phoenix Suns still going through turmoil. Because right now, Dallas is 32 and 30 at that 10th spot, which is still a playing opportunity. Phoenix Suns is at 28 and 33. So the Mavs maybe have a chance if the Suns continue to go through what they're going through. But I don't see that happening, especially with this new update going on with Kyrie Irving and possibly Anthony Davis as well being out for the rest of the season.
All right, Dylan, what's your take on the state of the Maverick season right now with Kyrie gone?
It's never been so much more over than it is now for the Dallas Mavericks. We could beat this Luka Doncic trade to a dead horse, but I mean the sheer irony that the player that you trade for, you trade away Luka for ends up only playing half a game. Didn't even play a full game. He played half a game, and then just as Arthur mentioned, you give Kyrie an even greater workload, which taxes body beyond everything. We could talk, of course, the injuries are now piling up where your top two scorers are done for. We already talked about Gafford and Lively, but if you have to rely on Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall as your reliable starters going forward, you're done for. Good luck even hitting 40 games. 'Cause even if PJ Washington's healthy, he's solid, but he's not a consistent player day in and day out. I don't know how you could look at this team even beyond next year. Like next year is the last true chance that being a contender for the next 5 or so years, because Kyrie's going to take about a year to get healthy. Hopefully Anthony Davis can play a full season, and you don't even know what that even looks like, them playing together. So I've been hearing rumors, especially with the new expansion, that Dallas could possibly go to Las Vegas. That's neither here nor there. But as far as it being over for Dallas, it's beyond over. We're talking about whole fan base is shattered, fractured, everything.
Okay, fair enough. And Paris, last but not least, your opinion.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely over. Not only did they shoot themselves in the foot, not because they got rid of Luka, but they got a guy who, like, I could have put money on he was gonna be injured. I mean, the dude's always injured. I don't know how you get rid of somebody because you don't think he's fit to go trade for someone who can barely play games. Like, how does that make any sense? How does that logic add up in your brain to get someone who can barely play in the first place? So you knew he was gonna go down. It just sucks that Kyrie gets injured because he's always exciting to watch. They already mentioned all the other people that are injured. Dante Exum's injured, Caleb Martin's injured. That just adds on to it. And the fact that they play in the West. If they were in the East, would their season be over? I would say yes, because they're not going to make a finals run. But if they were in the East, they at least I could say they'd have a playoff shot. They'd be in the playoffs. Depending who they get, maybe they could win a series. Because, if they're in the East right now, they're what, a 7-team and 8-team instead of fighting for a play-in spot all the way at the bottom. But they happen to be in the West. And the West is always really good teams fighting for spots. You're always fighting for a spot no matter where you're at, basically, unless you're the Thunder who's running away with the, number one spot, which, I mean, the Lakers are catching up. So they're not even running away with it anymore. So, I mean, yes, all the injuries. You play in the West, who has way too many good talented teams over there. It's just over. And kind of like you said, we don't even know what Kyrie and AD look together. I don't know if we'll ever know if Kyrie and AD look together because AD's just injured way too often. So by the time they get together, it'll just go down again.
All right, fair enough. That definitely is a devastating. That definitely, like you said, is a devastating injury. Anytime we've seen, and you know what's funny? Before I go to the points, Kyrie hitting those free throws after getting injured reminded me so much of Kobe Bryant after he tore his Achilles. Guy limps to the free throw line, invisible pain, and still knocked both of them down. Of course, Kobe never had another good season after that, so it remains to be seen for Kyrie. I'm going to go ahead and give, hold on, we got one comment here. Fellow Gryd member EJ Savage says, "What's up, y'all? Excited to hear the questions tonight. What's up, EJ? Glad to have you here." Best take, I'm going to go to Arthur. Reason being is because, like Arthur said, Kyrie is not the only one hurt, but because he is the biggest of them all, the most important ones of the team hurt, just all the little minor injuries now all tend to add up. Also, the only saving grace is that every other team behind the Mavericks are also in a dumpster fire. So I give him that. Dylan, I'm going to go ahead and give you the 3 points, the second best take, because you happen to mention something very important. Not only are they might be doomed for this year, they might be doomed for next year too. Kyrie, as we all know, torn ACLs are about a year. So Kyrie probably won't even come back till after the All-Star break, if at all. So that's very devastating, and who knows how AD will shape up. It was tough, and Paris are going to go ahead. And, it wasn't a bad take, but I just felt the other two were stronger. We got another comment here. Michael says, "All good takes." Well, thank you, Michael. All right, moving on our list of questions here. So this one, now we're going to shift to the NFL. Earlier today, Davante Adams, the star wide receiver, was cut by the Jets. Is this good or bad for both parties? Yes or no, and why? So we'll start with Paris first.
In general, I'm going to say it's good. I would have rather them, be able to trade them and get something, if like anything, even if they got a very low pick. I'd rather get something instead of nothing for a player. And somebody like Davante Adams, even though he's aging, he still has talent, and that veteran presence is going to benefit some teams. So I would have much rather have gotten, even if, they traded, the 49ers traded Debo for a 5th-round pick. Could Davante go on for more than that? Maybe, but even if that's all they could have got, at least you could get something back. But at the end of the day, I've been saying this as looking at the Jets, they need to get rid of everybody. I'm done with the entire team. I don't care who you are. Every single star on that team, I'm done with. It didn't work. I don't even think it was a bad plan. The roster on paper looked great. It just didn't work, and when it doesn't work, you just get rid of it. I mean, Aaron Rodgers needs to be gone. Adams needs to be gone. Wilson needs to be gone. Sauce Gardner needs to be gone. Brees Hall needs to be gone. I'm getting rid of everybody. Nah, it didn't work. Nobody looked good last year. I don't care who you were. People had flashes, but in the past couple years, it has not worked no matter who's been the quarterback, no matter who's been injured, who's been the coach. It never worked. So I'm not even sitting here saying these players are bad. These players are good, but sometimes good players just don't work together. And for me, how it looked, they've never worked together. And so it's just time to just get rid of it all.
You, sir, are a harsh critic. If you were anybody's boss, I'd be afraid to work for you. Dylan, your take, good or bad for both parties? Davante getting cut by the Jets.
I mean, I want to agree with Paris, but I don't want to go nearly as far as getting rid of Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson. That's a bit too far. But if we're talking about mutually beneficial, without a doubt, let's be honest. If Davante Adams is only in New York just to be with Aaron Rodgers, it was very obvious that as far as everything went with the Aaron Rodgers situation, it could have not been a worse possible scenario than what happened there. We could talk about how good a team looks on paper all we want, but when we talk about the Jets, it's a story of them for a while, and they've constantly been a top 10 draft pick team. So I feel like we're just playing the same song and dance all the time. But now with Aaron Rodgers, it's like, oh, we finally got our all-time great quarterback, and he barely even played one of his 2 seasons. And he wasn't that. I mean, he had a solid season, but not up to the standards of what Aaron Rodgers has done previously. So now, by cutting Davante Adams, you're finally blowing everything up. He was someone that they're saving $30 million against the salary cap by getting rid of him. There was an $8 million cap hit, but $30 million is a lot of money. That's like, if you're going to pay pretty much top dollar for a wide receiver, especially for a dude that's in his early 30s and is showing that decline, and you don't have that quarterback of why he came here in the first place, there's not a single reason in the world that you should keep him. I mean, I guess the Jets are just going to trade up for a quarterback in the draft and do this whole scenario all over again. But look, I think the Jets still have a focus. They still have a plan. I think they still have young, talented players that they could build a future around. But that Rodgers situation, getting all of his guys in there just to be subpar at best, was just a disaster waiting to happen from the get-go. So without a doubt, it was long over for Davante Adams there.
Okay, and Arthur, your take, good or bad for everybody involved? Davante getting released.
Definitely good for everybody. I'm honestly happy for Davante because again, we know why he went there. It was because of Aaron Rodgers. And let's be honest, if he still wants to play with Aaron, he could if he wants to, right? But right now, especially with where he is in his career, he wants to win. He wants to contend. So, you got, former teammate from the Green Bay Packers, Xavier McKinney, literally tagging him and saying, hey, man, like, pull back up. Imagine what Davante Adams will look like back in the Green Bay Packers uniform with Jordan Love. Imagine what he will look like with Landon McConkey, right? And Justin Herbert with the Los Angeles Chargers. Like, that would be interesting to see. So I'm happy for Davante that he was able to get out of there. Right. And again, the Jets have been a dumpster fire for a while, and they do need this rebuild. And I'm happy that they're getting this rebuild. And I'm excited to see what this looked like. Like they were a bottom 10 team as far as age goes. Right. They were one of the few oldest teams in the league with an average age of 27. So now when you pair a young quarterback that I believe that they will draft, and they should definitely draft, with Garrett Wilson, with Conley, with Brees Hall, and with this young core, I believe now that's projecting you now to be better instead of an older Aaron Rodgers and an aging Davante Adams. Again, no disrespect to both of them, because I believe they both can still play. It's just a matter of the system. But right now, what the Jets need, they need to be young. They need to be preparing for their future. And that's exactly what they're doing with their new head coach hire. And what Davante needs is a really, really good team that is a constant contender with a very good quarterback. And let me go one-on-one and do what I do. If all I do is literally just be a wide receiver 1, and I just take double teams and I play the AJ Brown route. And, you know, a guy like a Devontae Smith or a wide receiver 2 in the NFL, he's able to get touches and produce, and we win. I'm fine with that. But right now, I just want to win. Everything else is second to me. I want to win. I'm too great to retire and not win at least one Super Bowl ring.
Okay. Got some comments here in the comment section before we go to the points. Shaheem Taylor says, I like the idea of Davante coming back. That's to Green Bay. Our friend Michael also says, love the idea of Adams coming back to Green Bay. Go, Pat, go. Yeah, all valid points. I'm going to go ahead and give the best take to Dylan. Dylan was the only one of the three of you who mentioned the financial aspect of Davante Adams being cut. Davante Adams saved the Jets $30 million in salary. That could be used to fill out the rest of the roster, which is important for a team that's going to need as much money to attract somebody to play for them so they can field a roster next season. Second best, I'm going to go with Arthur. I like that you made the case that they brought him there for Aaron Rodgers, and now that Rodgers is not there, if he wants to go follow Aaron, he could, or possibly go back to Green Bay, like the comments say. And Paris, I hate to give you the last take two rounds in a row, but get rid of everybody is kind of harsh, especially considering that Garrett Wilson had over 1,100 yards receiving.
Listen, I'm not saying that. I'm not here saying Garrett Wilson's bad. I'm not saying Breece Hall is bad.
But you said get rid of them, bro.
Yeah, that doesn't mean they're bad. I'm saying it just isn't working. It doesn't. They don't have to be great for it to work. They can be great players that don't work. I mean, it's the good players. It's not working.
Over 101 receptions, 1,100 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I don't know how easy that is to get rid of. But.
Last place in the division? Hey, that didn't help us win games.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Again, if you were anybody's boss and they had one bad performance, I would hate to work for you.
Hey, it wasn't one bad performance; it was a whole season. It was 16 bad performances. Hey, I'm done.
I know who laid me off my job. Shit. He's the person behind it. It's like, damn, we only had 10%, growth. Fuck, get rid of them all. Fuck it.
Paris will be the one GM in the league no free agent will want to play for. Staying in the NFL, Saquon Barkley got paid. He got extended. He got the big bag. I want to know, what do you guys feel? How do the Giants feel in this whole situation? Paris, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Honestly, it's a great situation that gets paid. He deserves every amount of money a running back could ever deserve after what he did. I mean, the numbers he put up, he could have easily broke the record. He goes to the team. The team wins the Super Bowl. He's over here backwards jumping over people. I mean, there's not a single thing this man did all season that almost any other running back can do. He was catching. He can go catch the ball. There's like a limit that need to have for like every position, but there's always an outlier. No matter what position, no matter what you think the cap should be for that position, there is always going to be a player that just deserves more than every other player in that position, and he's the guy. Saquon Barkley is that guy. After what he did this year, there's no other running back in the league that can do what he just did this year. Chris McCaffrey can go catch the ball a little bit better, but Saquon's a better runner overall. Derrick Henry's a little bit stronger. Saquon Barkley has a bigger burst. I mean, all together, people can't do what everything can do. People can do a little bit better of certain things, but put it all together, that is the ideal running back you would want on any team possible. So paying him the money that he deserves it. I mean, the Giants should have saw this coming. Them getting rid of him, he was gonna go to a good team. Like they said it that, I wish he wouldn't go to I hope he doesn't go to the Eagles. Then why are we letting him go in the first place? If we already know there's a team we don't want him to go to, why are we letting him go? Nobody's about to say, man, I hope Daniel Jones doesn't go to the Eagles. Like, nobody's caring about that. But Saquon Barkley, yeah, that's an issue. So they should have saw this coming. The moment he went to the Eagles, I feel like with the line they had, we can't predict him to break records, but have a great year. We could have saw him having a good year, and he deserves every part of it.
Okay, so fair enough. Arthur, it looks like you got something on your mind. Talk to us.
Does he deserve it? Absolutely. Does Saquon Barkley deserve to be the highest paid running back in NFL history? Absolutely. The again, the everybody knows it. The season that he had was amazing, and it was in his first season. There were going to be questions like you had, people saying like, "Man, they got Saquon Barkley. Shoot, Jason Kelsey, come back, man. Imagine what you could do. Imagine blocking for this guy." You know what I'm saying? He hasn't really played with anybody like that in their career. Shoot, Jalen Hurts, as great or as good as any other quarterback he's played with. They're not Saquon Barkley, right? Saquon Barkley was third in MVP voting. He won the Offensive Player of the Year award. He was a Pro Bowler. He and Derrick Henry were neck and neck for who was the best running back in the league for a very long time until Baltimore ended up rushing out of the playoffs and Saquon Barkley took the title the rest of the way home. And even though he didn't have the greatest Super Bowl performance or the best one, or shoot, he didn't have a performance that we expected him to have, but he was still the one that led them there. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he did what he did this season and the amount of production, the amount of how much he just added, and it was just beautiful football that we got to see from him in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform. I'm not worried about the Giants. Again, they should have seen this coming. There's no reason why you let him go in the first place. And he just shows like, there's a reason why I should have been the one that was valued when I was in New York. There is a reason why I should have been the one getting the money. I'm this team. I carry y'all on my back. Look at what I did this season. Yes, we had A.J. Brown. Yes, we had Davante Smith. Yes, we had Jalen Hurts. Yes, we had a really good defense. But I'm the one that made all of this thing go. And if it wasn't because of me, and if they didn't have me, would we really be in this position? So absolutely, Saquon Barkley should have gotten paid and got his money, and I'm happy for him.
All righty. And finally, Dylan, your thoughts. You're on mute, Dylan.
Okay, yeah, my bad. Yeah, so I mean, he definitely deserved every single penny of his contract without a doubt. 36 million guaranteed. He led the league in scrimmage yards. He broke 2,000 rushing yards. You had your 15 total touchdowns. I mean, the one big problem that running backs always run into is the age problem. I feel like, especially, there's been kind of like a talk with the NFL as far as, oh, you can't pay a running back past the age 25. He's just pretty much done for. Like, you're pretty much like, there's no reason. You could just go and draft another running back for cheap or sign one for cheap. But the way that Saquon played the game, like played and ran the ball last year, caught the ball at amazing rates, no one deserves this money more for him. I want the NFL to treat running backs closer to a tight end. I want to throw some numbers out there. Just running backs in general. There are 4 running backs with a $10+ million cap hit compared to 12 tight ends. There were 16 1,000-yard rushers and 13 10-touchdown rushers for running backs, while you had 3,000-yard receivers and 1 10+ touchdown receiver for tight ends. You could talk about the blocking being a thing, but running backs have to block too. They're very valuable as far as picking up blitzes in that aspect. So if you're telling me, would you rather give Evan Ingram $13 million for 365 yards and a touchdown, or pay Saquon a little closer to 20 million for even half of that production? Even if you got half of 2,200 scrimmage yards, you're still having a phenomenal season. And also, the Eagles championship window is wide open. They could screw around and get another championship if they want to within the next 2 years. That's very possible. So why wouldn't you reward someone that brought you there, that gave you such a ridiculous season? I mean, running backs should just get paid more in general, but he's going to reset the market for all of them, and very well deserved, without a doubt.
Wow, my man Dylan, firing on all cylinders, bringing up numbers. Let's see. So we're gonna go to the comments. We got a couple comments in the comment section. Let's see what we're talking. So and Shaheem Taylor says Dylan with the numbers. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. You came for blood on that on that round. Barry Grant Jr. I guess he's talking about Garrett Wilson. You need more than a wide receiver to get out of last place. Is what it is with the Jets. They're on fire every year. All right, best take. I'm going to go ahead with Dylan. I didn't think about any of those statistics that you had mentioned. And yeah, like you said, a lot of these teams don't want to pay running backs past 25. That infamous clip from Hard Knocks last year really stands out when the Giants GM says, "Do we really want to pay a guy to hand the ball off to our 25-year-old aging running back?" And that comment did not age very well at all. Real quick in the comments, Shaheem Taylor says he deserved all his money. I definitely do think that all three of us agree. I'm going to give second best take to Paris. When you think about Saquon Barkley and how multidimensional he is, he can run, he can block, he can catch. And like Paris said, I think the only better pass catching running back out there right now is Christian McCaffrey, but he's not healthy. So Saquon for this season supersedes him. And then Arthur, it was tough. You're still in second place, but I don't think anything could get Jason Kelsey out of retirement. I think he's far too comfortable where he's at now. Let's see. Our next topic here, staying in the NFL again. The Los Angeles Rams, who have made the playoffs in 5 of the last 7 seasons, and who actually got out of the first round and won a playoff game this past season, have been they have been rumored to want to get rid of Matt Stafford. They've already told Cooper Kupp that they're going to work for a trade for him. And just today, they shipped all-pro offensive lineman Jonah Jackson to the Chicago Bears for a lowly 6th-round pick. It seems like they're heading for a rebuild. With the recent success of 5 playoff trips in 7 seasons, including a Super Bowl win, is a rebuild necessary? Do you think that they're blowing up their team for no reason? Dylan, we'll start with you.
I'm going to say it. I think the Rams should blow it up. You have Matthew Stafford, who's age 37. He has some years left. He could still clearly throw the ball well. But I think that's someone that you're not going to have a long-term future. I don't think the Rams are a Super Bowl contender. So I'd much rather see what value I could get out of Matt Stafford and play in my future. That Super Bowl run where they had their championship, they had the whole F them picks mantra where they traded away their future first-round picks for a couple years, but they got past those now. They have their first-round picks. Sure, they're not high-end picks by any means, but if you want to look down towards the roster, Cooper Kupp is 32. He's past his prime. Injuries are starting to catch up to him, so he's not going to be that dynamic pass catcher that you once wanted. And I just had a little bit of a rant on the tight ends earlier. Colby Parkinson and Tyler Higbee are 5th and 6th in cap hits this upcoming year for the Rams. Both tight ends that I don't see the value in that. So I think as far as priorities that the Rams have, they're kind of all out of whack. We're kind of in that weird middle ground of not good enough to win a championship, but not bad enough to get top talent. It's just tough. But I think I'd rather roll the dice and tank for a year, see what kind of value I could get out of Matthew Stafford now and see where I could go from there.
Okay. Arthur, do you think the Rams are too hasty in all these trades and wanting to blow the team up, or do you think that they should go into a rebuild?
Let's say they go into a rebuild. You're going into a rebuild. Why is Matthew Stafford still your quarterback? Honestly, if a rebuild is what you want going forward with Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, and all these young guys on your offense, why do you still have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback? This 10-7 season that they had this past year wasn't a true, real 10-7 season. It didn't look like a 10-7 team, especially at times and moments. The injuries, Cooper Kupp being down for 4 games, that got to him. Inconsistent quarterback play from Matthew Stafford got to him. Even some coaching adjustments at time from Sean McVay and the coaching staff didn't always work out. So it was just interesting that you were a top 20 team on defense and offense. So again, you're pretty middle of the pack, right? And you tell Cooper Kupp, hey, we're letting you go, even to the point where he announces it before anybody. He's like, hey guys, just want to let you know I'm being let go and stuff. And everybody is saying, why? If you are really going to go on a full rebuild, then let go of Matthew Stafford. There's no reason for him to be there anymore. Do the same thing the Jets are doing. All right, hey guys, everybody, hey, look, Aaron, look, we appreciate you. You're great and everything, but it just didn't work out. You can go. The difference is Matthew Stafford got a Super Bowl out of him, right? And yeah, back then they had Aaron Donald, but this is still a really good team with an up-and-coming wide receiver in Puka Nacua, who looks like he's going to be amazing for years to come. Cooper Kupp, yes, his injuries are catching up to him and he's out of his prime, but it does not mean that he is still not effective. So what are we doing? Do I believe that the Rams are being too hasty? Absolutely. There's no reason, again, that you go on a rebuild mode and you still have a 37-year-old Matthew Stafford. I just don't see the logic in that. If you were going to rebuild, then go all the way. You could have gotten value for him, I'm sure, this offseason, and you could have gone and got one of these top-studded running backs, quarterbacks, possibly in the draft. And if you don't, then there's still somebody that's going to fall to you that you can be a diamond in the rough. It doesn't make any sense to me why you would do the things that they're doing, but I believe that they're being too hasty in doing a rebuild.
So let me ask you one question. You don't believe the rumors that they're trying to shop Matthew Stafford around?
Sure, but I mean, dude, you gotta. If that's the plan, if the plan is to shop him around truly, then you got to be quick about this. The draft time, we already know, waits for no man. The draft is coming. And if you don't have a plan on what quarterback you're going to be able to replace him with to fit Puka Nacua style, to fit what Sean McVay wants to do on offense, also with the running back room, there's too many variables to get in here. And I believe this is still a really good team. You didn't have to let go of Cooper Kupp, in my opinion. He's still valuable and an asset and a product to your team. Keep him. I believe they were just too hasty in doing this. I get he's aging, but y'all were still good. Y'all, come on now, man. Yeah. But this is why I'm not in the front office. I just look at things and I say, oh, okay, like, why not run him back?
Okay. Paris, you think the Rams are moving too hasty here?
I honestly can see this as a quick rebuild. I'm kind of in the middle with this. I'm fine with them getting rid of Cooper Kupp because they have Cooper Kupp. They have Puka Nacua. Basically the exact same thing. This man came up and is basically the exact same thing Cooper's doing, Puka's doing. So they have the replacement. They got that. It's not hard to find wide receivers. It's hard to find a Cooper Kupp, but it's not hard to find wide receivers who can produce. They can find one in a draft. You can find one second, third round who can perform. And Matthew Stafford is the type of guy who makes his wide receivers perform. Some of the best wide receiver years in history have came with Matthew Stafford. I mean, Megatron's year, Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp's year, Matthew Stafford. Puka Nacua breaks the rookie record, Matthew Stafford. There's kind of all a underlying theme here. Matthew Stafford is the QB. So he works well with wide receivers. Getting rid of the linemen, but I don't see us. I don't agree with getting rid of Matthew Stafford. I believe they're in a perfect situation where they can draft a QB late second, third round, and he can sit under Matthew Stafford for a year or two, let the contract go out. They can easily move on from him, have someone develop under him, take over his spot. You have a proven Puka Nacua. You got Kyron Williams as a running back. In that time, you can draft an all wide receiver. Or since you're not worrying about paying a QB after really this year, you can go out and pay for a big-time wide receiver. You can't franchise tag T. Higgins again. So, let it keep going. To get Puka Nacua, you have money left over. Go get T. Higgins. Get T. Higgins, Puka Nacua. You have a QB developing under Matthew Stafford. You can just let him go after, a couple years go. His contract ends. And I can see this being a quick rebuild. Instead of, getting rid of everybody and working from the ground up, you get rid of a couple pieces. Keep the veteran QB, let him teach. Then you put the rookie QB having 2 years, 1 or 2 years of sitting under somebody with a talented team all around him with a good coach. It puts you in a situation where you're not going to lose a lot. You're not going to have a really bad season. You can stay good to mediocre for maybe a year or two and then come right back up since you have a QB that's developing. But I don't see the reason of getting rid of Stafford. I think that's going too far. Because then that's going in a complete rebuild, which their team isn't in need of a complete rebuild. But I can understand getting rid of Cooper Kupp. You have the replacement. He's getting old. Them two can never be on the field together. If Cooper's injured, if Cooper's not injured, Puka's injured. If Puka's not injured, Cooper's injured. One of them is always injured. So you got to, they're already basically playing without one of them. So you get rid of one of them. Yes, you want that option there, but they had to do that so many times. They've already done it. They played with it for half a season, more than half a season. So I just think they can do a quick rebuild with this and not have to get rid of Matthew Stafford.
Okay, before we get to the points in the comments, Shaheem Taylor says Rams said they are working out a new deal and was confirmed. I assume he's talking about Stafford. Let's see. So to the points, I'm gonna go and give best take to Paris. A lot of people do forget some of the top wide receivers have had historic seasons with Stafford under center. Again, Calvin Johnson, who had Stafford for a majority of his career, got to the Hall of Fame. Puka broke the rookie record. And of course, Cooper Kupp came on the scene, all with Matthew Stafford. I'm going to go ahead and give Dylan the second best take. Dylan, you're going to the final round. Just solid facts. And Arthur was hard, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the 1 point, but you're tied with Paris. The only thing about your take that got me is that why is Stafford going to be the quarterback on a rebuild? Sometimes you get these rebuilding teams that still do keep a veteran or two around. And like you said, he's on an expiring contract as of right now. So if he doesn't get a new deal worked out, he'll be a free agent at the end of the season. So since we have a tie for second place, everybody's going to the final round. Final round rules. We have the topic. The best take out of the group gets 10 points. Everybody else gets nothing. And whoever, since the score is what it is right now, whoever wins this round will win this week. Our bonus question in the final round. Baseball's hit king, Pete Rose, who passed away back in September, is now being looked at for reinstatement by the MLB commissioner, Rob Manfred. It was in the news this weekend that Manfred and Manfred has done a lot of questionable things, but he said now that Pete Rose has passed away, the lifetime ban should be over since he's no longer alive, which is crazy. So, of course, Pete Rose admitted to betting on baseball while he was the manager of the Reds in the 80s. He was banned for life, so he can't get into the Hall of Fame either. Should he be reinstated, and should it have happened while he was alive? Paris, I'll start with you.
He absolutely should be reinstated. And, this is a guy, obviously, I didn't get to see play. But how I've always thought of it as, if he bet on his team while he was the manager, why does that discredit what he did when he was a player? That's two completely different things. That makes no sense. I get it. You can... If they were saying, yeah, if he was the best manager we've ever seen, and then he found out he was betting, but like that discredits all his manager experience. I can kind of see that. I would still be like, okay, he still managed well. But to say what he did as a manager discredits what he did as a player, that just doesn't add up. That's two completely different, careers. And yes, I get it. Betting is like the number one thing you can't do in baseball. If you want to take PEDs, cool, great, whatever. We suspend you for a couple of, they're serious now about that. But for a while, they didn't care. But betting, that, that's number one thing you can't do. But to me, it just doesn't make sense how you can, because he did it as a manager, it discredits what he did as a player. It's one, I don't understand why it takes so long. We had all these years to reinstate it. And then basically the moment he dies, it's like, oh, well, now that he's dead, we should, bring him back. That makes no sense. We could have done this any other year. Literally, this conversation had every single year. Why now? Did we just out of nowhere have a change of heart? Like, dang, he passed. We really should just reinstate him. Should have reinstated him every single year before that. But if you're gonna reinstate, you gotta reinstate at some point, because if you don't do it now, people are gonna be talking about it. People already talk about it every year. We're gonna keep talking about it every year. It just comes to a time you have to do it. We might as well do it right now. It just, to me, makes no sense why he hasn't up to now why he hasn't been reinstated already.
All right, Arthur, you're over there shaking your head. What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing. It's just a funny thing of what Paris says. Like, he said, we're surprised. Basically, it sounds like, oh, snap, like he died. Okay. Dang, guys, what now? What should we do? Absolutely. This conversation, I get it. I get it. The number one rule and all the sports period of not betting, it happened. I get it. But again, it's like Paris said, that doesn't discredit what he did as a player. Those are two different lives. He was a manager, right? And as a player, this dude was a freaking beast. He killed when he played with the Cincinnati Reds in the Phillies. So it doesn't make sense why now that he's died. This is the exact reason why you have the phrase of give people their flowers while they're alive, because we always give people their flowers and show them appreciation when they're dead, which is as spelled backwards. It makes no sense. Let's look at a few things, right? Okay. So the average number of career hits for a Hall of Famer right now in the MLB is 3,000. We know that Pete Rose is the all-time hit leader with 4,256. The average number of games played for a Hall of Famer in the MLB right now is between 2,000 and 2,500. Pete Rose played 3,562. Now you're in a conversation with guys like Hank Aaron, who played 3,298, and Willie Mays, who played 3,283. Guess where they both are? They're in the Hall of Fame. The average number of all-star appearances for a Hall of Famer right now of the MLB is between 10 and 12. Before this conversation, let's make it 12. Pete Rose has 17. Again, we're in the conversation with guys like Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Cal Ripken Jr., and others. So it makes zero sense to me how a guy who has all those accolades, individual accomplishments, throw in his 3 World Series that he has, throw in his 2 batting titles that he has. How is he not in the Hall of Fame? Because you guys wanted to be petty, because you wanted to teach him a lesson, because you wanted to show that you have all the and guess what? He died. And now all of a sudden we're like, oh, well, God, I think we should put him in. He literally was in his last interview, said, I think this is what's going to happen. Pete Rose said in his last interview, I think this is what's going to happen, but I don't want it to. But I believe when I die, that's when I'll get in. Do you know how messed up that is to show one of your legends that type of disrespect? So, yes, was it too late? Yes, because you should have done this when he was alive. And should he be reinstated? Absolutely. He should have been reinstated yesterday and the day before that and the day before that. He should have been reinstated before he died.
Okay. Dylan, your opinion? You're on mute again.
I keep on doing it. There's one word that Arthur used that perfectly encapsulated this whole situation is the word petty. If there's any kind of media that is petty towards the players that played the game, I think baseball is the top of that list. Basketball's close. Basketball's getting there. But the way that the Baseball Hall of Fame is like this sacred ground that, you have to be like perfect, squeaky clean imagery, and like you have to get these certain accolades and do all these right things. And, there's always this talk about, oh man, this player had 1 vote away from getting or 2 votes away from getting the nomination, but certain writers that will never be named will, prevented that from being an accolade that could be given to that. If we're going to talk about like accomplishments for Pete Rose, he had pretty much the perfect thing. We already talked about the World Series, the All-Star games, his hits. He was the number 1 MLB hits. I know Ichiro has the record for as far as like total career hits as far as all professional leagues, but we're talking MLB hits, 4,256 is still an amazing number of just MLB hits. And we talk about a club 3,000, that's hard to reach. He surpassed that. He went way above and beyond the 3,000 hit club, which is a sacred part of the MLB Hall of Fame. We are and with gambling too, I think we're in an interesting part of as far as it. Gambling should definitely never be understated as far as the players and the managers and all that being betting in those games. But now as these leagues are in bed with these gambling companies, I mean, we saw with Shohei Ohtani where the whole thing with his translator taking money from him. I think that's still sketchy, and we're seeing in all these leagues, all these gambling things happening anyways. I think Pete Rose is such an exemplary thing that it should have been something that happened a long time ago. And I think with this statement, I think now they're going to slowly put those steroid era guys into the Hall of Fame now. I think now that will slowly morph into that conversation where, all right, we kept Pete Rose away for life, but what about Barry Bonds? What about Mark McGwire? Because, I mean, again, that's a part of baseball you can't just erase. You can't just erase these guys because of mistakes that they made when they pushed baseball above and beyond what average players did. And I mean, we see cheating happen all the time anyways. It's like, why, like, it's, we hold, like, the baseball media holds on to these little things, like the whole steroid thing and the gambling for a manager while he's a player, when it doesn't matter anymore. These players, they should be recognized for what they did, and Pete Rose is no exception.
Okay. Before I get to the point total, Pete Rose admitted, and it was proven later on, that the games he bet on were for his own team that he managed, and he only bet on his team to win. He never bet on that his team would lose. So I guess he had every incentive to try to manage these games to win as best as he could. So all three takes were close, but there was one particular comment that got the winner the win. And that was that Major League Baseball is in bed with these draft books, with these sports books. So congratulations, Dylan. I do agree with you. You can't keep punishing people for betting, but then the game of the week on Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by FanDuel and ESPN Bet and DraftKings and every other sports book in America. So congratulations, sir. Anything you'd like to say on your victory?
I mean, what else is there to say? I think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. I think running backs should get paid more than tight ends. And yeah, I think the Celtics will win the NBA Finals. I know they weren't mentioned. I know it didn't even matter, but I had to throw it in there. They're going for it. They're winning it all. No one's stopping them. Back-to-back is coming.
I was with you until you said the Celtics are winning the finals. But folks, that's been another 8 o'clock. That's been another 8 o'clock spot. Special thank you to all our contestants for participating this week, and we'll see you again next Tuesday.